And we are back this afternoon. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Back to the BNS podcast. Have you guys ever thought about how important your relationships are to you? This week and the weeks to come, we're going to be looking at relationship matters because, man, as long as I'm concerned, relationships are the most important part of anyone's life. Why? Just think about it. I know personally that all my successes, all my accomplishments, um, whatever you can think of personally that I can think of, have actually happened because of the relationships I've had. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody and recommends me, or somebody comes into my life and becomes a boost or a pillar. He finds a particular interest in the things that I do and maps out a path. Um, she feels that she can be of assistance to making things move smoother in your structure, whatever it is, personalized. You're not feeling well and someone says, "Oh, I'll drop you at the hospital," or someone stops over and brings food. There's a joke they want to share. There's a laughter. uh, just think about it. It's all about relationships, our family relationships, our social relationships, our work relationships. So relationships are the most important things, as long as I'm concerned, that actually make us who we are. Welcome to Broken Not Shattered. This is your host, Ike. Today, our focus is on relationships, and I have a lot to say over the period of time. I was supposed to have a guest, and for some reason, all my guests decided not to show up. So I said to myself, you know what? I'll do this by myself. I'll start the door, I'll open up the doors, and then we can go into it. What are the most important things about our relationship? Why is it important that we do have these relationships? We're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to have a look at the importance of these relationships and how people have been strategically placed in our lives to ensure that no matter what life throws at us, we have some kind of support, we have some kind of comfort, we have some kind of pillars in our lives at different seasons in our lives. I have been there for others, and trust me, many have been there for me. So I understand the importance of relationships, and we're going to look at the dynamics of them, be it in the family, in our marriage, with our partners, at work. There's a lot to talk about over the next series this month, over the next series and in the month of July. But let's take a quick break as we come back and go straight into the essence of these relationships. Let's take a break. I'm back soon. Okay, so there are three or four reasons why I personally believe that relationships are very important. Let in no particular order. Let me start with um, why I believe that we need to have strong and very positive relationships in our lives. And sometimes I'm going to use my own personal experiences because that's the easiest one to use, but it's not the most accurate because my experiences are just pertaining to me. And obviously, you have your own experiences. But in my case, right, I found out that it is important for us to have very strong and good relationships because they help with our physical health. Um, I read somewhere recently while I was preparing for this podcast that um, people who have long-term relationships, or let's just say healthy long-term relationships, who undergo heart surgery have a tendency to survive that surgery um, within will survive that surgery over the first 3 to 4 months, unlike people who are single and are not in very healthy relationships. Now that's a big telltale sign right there. Somebody who has heart surgery is able to survive the first 4 months or first 3 months because of the nurturing, because of the environment, because of the relationships that they have. especially if it's healthy. Because relationships, I believe that when you're in a healthy relationship, it helps you build strong immune systems. It helps you regulate positively your blood pressure. I never had blood pressure in my life all these years. Yes, it's something that runs in my family, but mine never showed up until I found myself in a very toxic, very toxic relationship. And that was when I started feeling that okay, my heart rate was always there was a very strong level of anxiety every time. I just felt so unhappy. There was a lot of emotions taking place that were actually producing these unnecessary feelings that I was having with my physical health, right? And so I remember that time also. I did spending a lot of time in the gym because I had to balance out what I was dealing with emotionally and how to rectify it physically because the physical exercise helped me build some kind of relaxation and uh, mindset that I am able to overcome whatever the challenges were. And so I believe that when we have long term and healthy relationships or very positive relationships, it helps us survive different kinds of illnesses. I remember not too long ago, a loved one of mine had passed away. And during their illness, um, I found out that some of the triggers of what had happened um, was because they were unhappy about a particular thing that took place in their marriage, and they opened up to me and shared that experience, which I felt was very unfair, for lack of a better word. And in that process, as much as there was love around them, deep down, I knew they were so unhappy. I knew they were so unhappy. There were times when they would call me and they would just cry and cry and cry. And I knew that if they had the right support emotionally, although all of us were there and just supporting them and telling them that we love the individual at that time, um, if that dent wasn't there, it would be much easier for them to recover. When we have very poor relationships, um, our immune systems break down, blood pressures most times can go up. You see people struggling to recover from injuries. I remember a certain member of my family had gone through some very rough times in their own personal life. And it just happened to be that at that particular time, they had fallen ill. I made it a point of duty, in spite of COVID and everything else that was going on, to ensure that I made as many trips as possible to be there for that particular person because I understood the importance of the support of a relationship. And this is a relationship that I knew that was important to me and I was important to them. So traveling across to the UK or to wherever they were to go and spend time with them at that time was there was no cost spared, right? Because I knew that at that time what they wanted to do was have that love and strength around them in spite of the ones that they were not getting. And to God be the glory, there was this very quick and expeditious recovery, and I give God the glory for that. And it's almost 4 years, and the person is still doing strong and coming across well. And it was an eye opener for those around us to understand the essence of friendship, the essence of relationships, being there and encouraging one another and supporting one another. So personally, I think that when you have healthy relationships, uh, uh, our health, physical health begins to improve in so many different ways. It also leads to second thing. It also leads to longevity. People who have very healthy and strong relationships have a tendency to live long, right? They live long because um, there's something to live for. They're happy. They have the support. They have um, the right resources around them that will keep them going. Because the more positive our relationships are, the tendency is that your whole body and your whole mind is definitely moving towards a positive side, and research has shown that it also leads to longevity. Yesterday, the third thing is emotions. Our emotions. Yesterday, I went to the movies to watch a movie, highly recommended, full disclosure, by the girls, and they said, "Hey, you gotta go watch this." So I watched the movie Inside Out, and Inside Out 2. I watched Inside Out 1, but it's amazing. And this is I gotta share this because I think it's important for my audience to know this. I try to be as transparent as I can, not making the show about me, but just about that. I haven't been to the movies since 2020. I can't remember walking into a movie theater since COVID. I have watched a lot of movies on Netflix or Prime and other platforms that we have that show movies. But actually walking into a theater to sit down, buy popcorn, buy a drink, and watch a movie, I can't remember. If I have, maybe skip my mind, but I can't remember doing it since 2020. So it's almost 4 years. And so yesterday was excited to just sit down and just relax and watch this great movie. Now, Inside Out, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, was all about the emotions that were taking place. And I found out that joy, I said joy, was a very strong emotion. Joy was almost like superseding the entire emotions that were over there, working in and out throughout the movie. It's a great animation. I think it ministered to me personally because I found out that right there and then that there is a bundle of emotions taking place in us as things happen, triggers, whatever it is, right? And so it was one of those scenarios where I just had to sit back and started asking myself some serious questions. How do I handle my emotions? How do I handle my relationships in those emotions? And because those emotions impact my relationships, whether they're good or not good, whether they're positive or negative, they will have an impact. The decisions that I make, right, about certain things and certain situations also go a long way. So happiness and joy is one of the biggest emotions that we can actually receive, and they come when we are in a positive and a healthy relationship. Now, you can also learn how to be happy by yourself. I think happiness is what takes place. What did I say? Joy is deeper than happiness. Happiness is determined by things or scenarios going on within you, but joy is that gift that comes from God Himself. And the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I personally, as a Christian, I take that to heart because I've learned how to stay joyful regardless whether there's anybody or nobody in my life. And so, but it's healthier when you're filled with joy and there's a lot of happiness. You have family, you have friends, you have loved ones, you have people that really care about you, that people that you really care about all around you. And I think in this month, as we discuss family matters, I want you guys to take this to heart. Today is not one of those shows that I'm going to pump you and excite you about. Well, maybe I will towards the end because of the video I'm going to show at some point. But at the end of the day, these are emotions that we need to definitely look into, right? Then the last but not the least, before I take my 15 minutes break, is our mental health. We can't play with this. Your relationships determine the state of your mental health. It is that important. If you are in a toxic relationship or you are in a not healthy relationship, it's going to have an impact on your mental health. I know you love your brother. I know you love your sister. But if your sister or your brother is creating some kind of family members of the family, just creating some kind of toxic environment from you, I will suggest to you that you just pull back a little bit and allow things to cool off so that you can keep your mental health. Yes, they say blood is thicker than water, but blood is not thicker than your mental health. Simple as that. Yes, blood is thicker. Blood is thicker. Blood is thicker. Yes, we know blood is thicker. No doubt about it. Family is very important, very key. But who is in the family and what are they actually creating in your own life? Are they creating a lot of joy, a lot of pleasure, and harmony? Or are they creating a lot of dysfunction? You know, and if that dysfunction is there, just pull back for the sake of your own mental health. But positive relationships help us with our mental health, our complete well-being. When we come back, we're going to look at another area of relationships that I think that is very important. If you notice today, I'm not excited, I'm not jumping up because I think this is something that's been on my heart. I've looked at around me. I have had some very, very great relationships in my lifetime, male and female relationships that I've had, that I still nurture and I still hold very dearly to me. And there have been some of them, unfortunately, that have not been that healthy. And at some point, we just had to let them go. And letting them go doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just that for that particular time, it just wasn't working. You know, some people might have other types of relationships that, well, we started off by dating, and now you guys are close friends, right? So the situation is, just assess it and see how it has an impact on your life. Because if it does, you want to keep it, you want to nurture it, you want to ensure that it is built under the right understanding and the right solid ground. And if it's not, it's time for you to cut it off. All right, I'll be back again on Broken Not Shattered. Please, if you join us for the first time, this is your host, Ike O. Just make sure you like, click, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and other platforms. We have been doing this for the last 2 years. It's sometimes it's so tough for me to come for camera every Sunday to do this work, but I know that it's helping someone. The feedback we get is unbelievable. I told my team we're going to put something together so people can see the kind of lives we've actually impacted, and we just have to keep on going and making an impact in their lives. We'll be back after this short break on Broken Not Shattered. Right, we're about to round up, go to the next level of the show. I want to play a video. This part of relationships is about the male and the female relationship. Why does it appear that in today's world, there's a lot of women who don't have an understanding of what a man is in their lives? Why does it appear that most men don't take their full responsibility to make sure that their families or their children or the women in their lives are being catered for? And when I say catered for, it's not just only financial, right? But also being supportive there. What is going on? What is going on? I had this discussion with my team. It was a very, very, very interesting conversation. I had asked a member of my team to look at it, and they decided to put it on the platform, and the feedback we got was unbelievable. I'll play the video first, and then we can now go into the conversations of it, because I think it's at that point in time that we would actually begin to find the balance. And I know a lot of you are going to have things to say. I truly don't know if I can answer all of them on today's show when we start, but I know it's going to be exciting. I'm going to try as much as possible, and then we can go from there. If you have any questions, please send it to I think it's any of our platforms. Just DM, and my team will be able to pick it up. Okay, let's watch this video, and we'll come back.
And women today, like the modern women, they want the aesthetics of what a man is, but they actually don't want a man because they don't want to be submissive. And I know that's a word thrown out there. Women get scared of that.
Explain what you mean by submissive, for those kind of weird.
Submissive as in respect. being the peace, the calm, always, right? So if a lion is roaring, you have to learn how to quiet, So it's just like women don't want to be submissive. Women don't want to be corrected. We're the only nation of women that say they don't need a man, and you have all these other nations. Those women aren't saying that because they know the greatness and the importance of a man being around, not just financially, but for beyond that. It's beyond finances. It's for the structure. It's for the balance.
Wow. It's for the structure and it's for the balance. Now, I saw this and I put it out there, and my team said, hey, this is a good conversation for us to have. You heard that. I can play it again. It says women don't want to be submissive. They don't want to be corrected by the men in their lives. Now, I know that to some extent that can be true because I've met and I know a couple of women who struggle with those corrections when it comes to them. But I've also seen women who don't have a problem taking correction from men, right? And I think it's all about the balance, right? A woman who can't respect a man, simply put, has no business being in a relationship with a man. Women also think that, it's about sex, that, I can cook for him, I can clean his house. Trust me, sister, there are people out there who can do it much, much better than you can, and vice versa when it comes to how a woman treats a man, right? But the most important thing that every man needs in his relationship with a woman is respect. Respect. I'm not telling you that he's smarter than the man. Doesn't have to be smarter than you. He doesn't have to be bigger than you. It's just that element of him, the way he's been wired, the way he's been created. He demands and he expects respect. Respect from the woman in his life, respect from his family, and respect for himself. He has to have respect for himself, first of all. I've learned over the years that sometimes when these things happen, I just retrieve back and I stay very quiet and I watch. I watch how they respond. I watch how they humble themselves to apologize when they're wrong. I watch carefully. And the same way I'm watching, I bet you everybody else is watching on the other side too. But it is important for most men. I can tell you, if you survey 100 men today, 90% of them, if not more, will tell you the most important thing that any man demands from a woman in his life is respect. And if that woman can't, if you have to be always mouthy and you always have something to say, or you're always raising your voice when you're talking to a man, or you're very disrespectful to them in your tone or in your mannerism or how you conduct yourself, then you don't need to be in a relationship with that particular person. It just means that you don't have regards for them. It doesn't work. Now, don't get me wrong. There might be times when people have arguments and it's heated and they go back and forth. That's part of it. But once that argument is over, how does that thing continue? You might have what I call you might disagree to agree. Yeah, it's okay to have disagreement. You don't have to answer yes to everything he says. She doesn't have to answer yes to everything that you don't have to answer everything yes to everything she says. But it's how you work those things out. Are you trying to understand each other, or are you fighting each other? Are you working towards the common goal, good of the relationship, or are you fighting for territory and space? Right? You have to be mindful of how you go about in those relationships. In the same token, I know the sisters are going to start writing and sending me messages. The man also has to be very, very intentional in how they make sure that there's no ill-mannered attitude towards the woman in their life, because the woman in your life is very important. She's been put in there for a reason, right? There's some level of encouragement and support that every man needs to overcome the challenges of what the world, life will throw all kinds of things at you, right? And so when you have a good woman in your corner, or good women in your corner, just learn how to show them love and care as much as you can, because you need that support. That support is very, very important for any man to go out there and overcome. And the vice versa, if you have a woman who's always trying to pull you down or trying to tear you down, then it's going to be a big challenge. I remember one of my relationships, and I shared it with a few people before. They know, in that relationship, that particular woman kept on highlighting the areas where I was weak, right? And she said, you're not good at this. You're not good at that. And the emphasis over the period of time was what I was not good at. And I didn't even realize it at the time. But psychologically, I was being emotionally and verbally abused. Because when somebody keeps on highlighting your flaws all the time and never focus on your strengths, it's a level of abuse. Now, there were areas where I was strong that individual did not have anything to offer in those areas. And she was good with numbers. I always went to her to ask her for numbers and say, hey, how do you do well with numbers and this and that and that? And she would put the numbers together. But in the business relationship now, she was terrible. She couldn't speak. She stutters, right? But I never said to her, you stutter, or you're not good in communicating, or you're not good in speaking. I never highlighted that. I always told her, hey, you're good in numbers, you're good in numbers, you're good in numbers. And then in her case, she never focused on what I was good at. She focused on my flaws. And whatever you focus on, you begin to expand, right? Whatever you focus on, you illuminate, it makes it bigger. And so in that case, that's what happened. And before you knew it, we began to drift apart. And it just broke down. So everybody needs to have a healthy relationship. They were talking about women being submissive. Is it true that women are not submissive? Put it in the chat. Why are women not submissive these days? Why are women said this is the only nation where women feel they don't need a man? I think it's important for every woman to understand that there is a need for both male and female to put that structure in place. We both need each other. There are some qualities that a man does not have that a woman needs to be put in his life to fine-tune those areas. And there are some areas a woman, with all her accomplishment, with all her strength, with all her beauty and all her looks, needs a man to actually help guide and protect her in that word. And the word is protect. It's a sense of responsibility. It's a sense of care. It's a sense of love. Show her the love that that she desires, and you might be able to bring out the best of her. When the lion roars, like she says, you learn how to be quiet. That's a wise woman. A wise woman knows how to stay quiet when the man in her life is upset for whatever reason, whether he has a point, doesn't have a point. You just learn how to be quiet and keep your mouth shut. It's as simple as that. Wait for that wind to blow out, and then you can come back and make your case. And I guarantee you, he will listen to you then. But when he's upset and you're upset, nobody's listening to anybody. And at the end of the day, the relationships break down. And these are relationships that matter to us. So we have to understand each other, focus on supporting each other emotionally, focus on supporting each other physically in any way you can. And when I say the word support, I'm talking about help, create some kind of structure. If she dresses up and comes out and she's looking good, just tell her. Say, girl, you look good. I love your hair. I love your nails. I like the way you walk. I like the way you talk. I love your smile. Those things help beef up self-esteem, no matter how small they are. I always say that when a woman is very disrespectful and very belligerent to men, check. Most likely something had gone wrong in her previous relationships, or something had gone wrong in her previous experiences as a young girl, maybe the absence of a father, or the presence of very abusive men, whatever it is that has happened in her life that triggers that thing, that's where that is coming from. But you don't have to stay like that, sister. You just don't have to stay like that. You can actually begin to make choices and say, you know what, I'm going to work on myself. I'm not going to say, oh, men are just dogs and just keep on dogging them out. I'm going to work on myself. I know that for years, a lot of women, especially in this part of the world, have actually carried the responsibility of both male and female. They've raised their kids almost single-handedly, and that can bring some level of resentment They've been used to handling things their own, doing it by themselves. This is years and years of in certain societies, you see it happen. Generations of men being absent, and now we worry about why are the women in our lives very masculine in their approach. Well, they haven't had a strong backbone to give them the support they need. But here comes another man who now has that backbone, and you're projecting those experiences on this new guy who is there to make sure that you get the support that you need. We need to find a way to show and continue to believe that relationships matters. We have run out of time. I know today I've just laid down the foundation. Hopefully, as the weeks go by, my guests will start coming in and we'll start talking about these things in detail. And I know it's going to be an exciting time. But before I go, I think it was important for me to take a few things that we need to focus in our relationships. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will look at them and away we go. Welcome back to the BNS podcast, your host, Ike, and we have been discussing about how important our relationships are. Our relationships are God's gift to enhancing who we are. Check it. You, the multimillionaire, somebody gave you a somewhere, opened up a door somewhere, someone supported you, believed in you, and created an opportunity. You, Miss Universe, the queen of the world, someone spoke into your life and made you believe how beautiful you are, regardless of the 1,001 beautiful women out there. Sir, you're the one who's now in charge of this big corporation. Someone saw, believed, and said, you know what, we'll follow you and we'll back you up. Someone decided to put their life on hold to ensure that they push your course and your purpose. It's all about relationship. My pastor will say to you, relationships are the biggest currency in any level of success, and I completely believe in it. If you have great, solid relationships, continue to build them. We were able to go out for dinner with the governor of Maryland this weekend, and this week. And it just happened that someone who we had built a relationship who's very influential in politics was able to say to the governor, "Oh, hey, governor, these are my very good friends, and they're very supportive of what we do here." And the governor took out time and took pictures with us and had a quick chat with us. I mean, that's just a relationship that had been innocently built and over time has now grown to something else. So be mindful of how you manage your relationships. And I'm going to end with these few tips and we're done. Signs of healthy relationship: 1, there has to be respect. 2, there has to be love, and I mean real, genuine love and care. Support, there has to be support. Trust is very important. It has to be a lot. You have to feel that you can trust this person to open up to them. You can trust this person to share your life with them. You can trust this person to make mistakes and know that those mistakes are not going to come back to haunt you. You're going to be able to be honest with them as much as you can and create the environment, an enabling environment for that transparency to take place. The other thing I think is very important as we wrap up is healthy communication. Make sure your communication lines are open and that the intent of purpose at every time is to ensure that you guys succeed. Be practical in your help, in the emotional help that you offer to people, and please ensure that at every given time you have understanding. And last but not the least, find areas that you have shared interests, both collectively and individually. See you next week on Broken Not Shattered. This is your host, Ike O, saying peace, love, and more grace. Thank you, and see you soon.